Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I've always been intrigued by the Franz Stieger-Charlie Brown incident, so today I'm building the first half of that, the Bf-109 Gustav that Stiegler flew, for the first half of a diorama that commemorates that event. I had this Airfix kit in my stash, along with an Academy B-17, for over 4 years, and recently purchased the 1/72nd scale crew for the B-17 because it comes with no crew, and a set of decals for both planes from Kit's World. I start the build by altering the pilot figure. I modified the head to have it turn to the right and give a right-hand salute. I'm not sure if this is historically accurate, as he probably just gave him a wing wag and a quick wave, but with the low detail figure I have from Airfix, it's all I have to work with. For those of you unfamiliar with this event, it took place on December 20th, 1943. When then a young American pilot named Charlie Brown, flying his B-17, the ye old pub, was severely damaged after bombing the German city of Bremen. He and his crew almost crashed. The very badly damaged B-17 unfortunately flew over a German Air Force base, and Franz Ziegler was ordered to go shoot the bomber down after it overflew his air base. Once Stiegler saw the damage to the bomber, he remembered his flight instructors telling him to never engage with an opponent that was unable to fight. So he tried to get them to land or to follow him to Norway and surrender. But the B-17 crew just wouldn't follow his orders or didn't understand what he was trying to ask them to do. So what he did is he ended up flying guard and escorting them through the flat cannons and getting them to the English Channel. Now, both pilots did survive the war, and through some searching, they found each other later in life and for many years became fast friends. Primed in black, his face was painted with a medium flesh tone and given a skin tone wash once that was dry. His flight suit was a uniform gray from Army Painter. That gives that bluish gray color the Germans use for their fighter pilots. And then the cap was painted leather, while his gloves and boots were painted in a darker chocolate brown. The harness straps were painted in khaki, and the metal bits in silver. His goggle lenses were also picked out in silver to give him that reflective look. After all that was dry, a wash of strong tone added some shade. The goggles were washed with a blue wash. All in all, a quick paint job for a figure that will be mostly unseeable in the closed canopy. But that's what you get at 1/72nd scale. Kit build. I sprayed the interior bits the wrong RLM color. I used RLM 66 when I should have used RLM 06. I didn't realize this until it was nearly finished and something didn't quite look right. But I decided I'm just going to leave it. Again, it's covered up. It's a tiny little figure. You're not going to see much of it. Okay, this is a newer Airfix kit, but it still has many issues. We all know how simple or simplified Airfix 1/72nd kits are. So I'm not going to go through step-by-step building, but I just want to go a little bit of a rant mode. This is a newer Airfix kit. I think it is 2010, something like that. But it has so many issues. Oddly, the vehicle build starts with the wings. Pretty sure assembling this way will cause gaps, but the kit engineering leaves no other way to accomplish the build. My next issue, the cockpit. They totally missed the rear firewall. I had to cut the rear wall from plastic cardstock, and then I glued it in place. Time to assemble the body to the wings. Sure enough, there are gaps both fore and aft. Unless you don't want the wings to match topside, where the wing roots connect. Then you have to putty the whole thing. And now the soft plastic Airfix continues to use rears its bad decision-making head. More filling and more sanding. Let's take a look at the oil cooler intake. Why is the sprue gate located directly in the middle of the front side of the air intake? I know Airfix doesn't really do Axis models any justice in their box art or in their designs, but this is just stupidly bad. Nothing a hobby knife can't fix, but come on, this is designed as a beginner kit. You shouldn't have to make these alterations. Turbocharger intake. I get keeping your part counts low, but why is it a solid piece? Again, nothing you can't fix with a micro drill. But why should I have to do it when other kits make them two pieces so you can have a hollow piece? I don't know. Then there's the fit of the turbocharger. It doesn't. More sanding to get it to fit flush. Lastly, the landing gear. Again, I get it. It's a $10 kit. But this has got to be the most half-hearted attempt at landing gear or tires. Lucky for me, I'm doing wheels up this time. So most of the lack of detail can be hidden because the wheels and the landing gear are going to be up inside the wings. Also, you can't build this kit without including the drop tank, as the attachment points are molded in place and they are not at all historically accurate. They're just two little pips that attach to the fuel tank. So unless you want to do major surgery, including sanding everything off and rescribing and then scratch building the appropriate drop tank hangers, it's not really worth it. So if you decide to get this kit and build it, just build it with the drop tanks. You have no other choice. Since you can't add the pilot after assembly, the opening is too narrow to allow the figure to pass into the seat, I had to mask the canopy and glue it in place before priming, which was done in a light gray. After many moments of, oh, you've got to be kidding me, it's finally time to paint. Meanwhile, the spinner and the tail rudder were painted in just a flat white. RLM 76, a light blue, was applied to the bottom of the plane and up the sides as per the painting guide supplied with the decal kit, not the kit from Airfix. Even though it's a mid to late war airplane, they don't really give you good camouflage schemes for that era. After masking off the parts that need to stay blue, I first applied a lighter RLM 75 gray-violet for late war Western front camouflage. Again, not what Airfix calls out. RLM 74, which is a gray-green splinter camouflage, was then applied over the violet gray with some simple masking. After that masking was removed, as well as the masking that protected the blue that comes up the side of the fuselage and then retaped so I can protect the belly color, I came back in and applied the modeling with the same RLM 74 gray-green. I used a very light trigger and a low air pressure setting on the airbrush to get that little bit of a spotting look. That plus a whole lot of patience and going light and building up the modeling in layers, you can get a really nice scale-looking modeling. I only gloss coated where the decals would go, as I didn't want to have any more extra layers to remove on the canopy than I really needed to. Once the decals were set, a light matte varnish was applied to seal them in and then knock down the gloss on the airplane. Since this diorama will be set with 2 aircraft in flight, I ditched the Airfix supplied props and used a 3-bladed blurred prop from, as you would guess, a company called Prop Blurs. I think this is a one-man operation out of California, and he uses thin brass and photo etches a part that helps sell the illusion of the spinning props. I really like them for in-flight airplanes, and I've used them in the past. They, of course, did not fit the prop spinner that Airfix supplies, so I had to do a little creative chopping down to get them to fit into the holes. But they were just painted a simple RLM 70, which is a dark green, black color that was typical for the Germans for their props pretty much the whole war. For now, all I can say is that this is the absolute last Airfix kit out of my stash, and I'm pretty sure I will not be making room for any more Airfix kits. Conclusion: this is a really bad kit, especially for a mid-2000s new tool. It feels like something designed in the 70s or even the 60s. If you want a quick weekend build and don't care about great details, this is your kit. I've invested time into this build, and the second half of the diorama is similarly a low detail kit, albeit a kit actually tooled and made in the 70s. So we'll push forward and finish the diorama. Stay tuned for the Charlie Brown Ye Old Pub B-17 build and the final diorama setting for a higher calling memorial. Until next time, happy modeling.